Hello everyone, my name is Jordan and welcome back to another Intro to Android video. Last episode, we got started with Android, got familiar with Android Studio, which is the official IDE for Android development, got familiar with the emulator and activities and just general things here and there. So we want to make our app a little bit more advanced now, which is going to require some programming. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what we want our app to do. Maybe I want a button that changes the text on this screen. So we're just going to go ahead and go into this list over here, find button or whatever object we want for that matter, and drag it into the scene. I'm just going to place it at the very center. We're going to switch back into our XML form here, and we're going to set this to be equal to @string/button text. We're going to go ahead and create this string value here, and we're going to say click me with an exclamation point. And that is our text on the button. Cool. Of course, you could style this button however you want, but that's really not a whole lot important. So we're good to go. We really don't have anything else to do in our XML file. Let's go ahead and go into main activity, close the debugger and all that there. And so you can see our code for this activity. All it is doing is whenever the activity is created, it's setting the content view to be equal to our XML file so that the proper view is displayed. It's also calling the super instance of this so that everything is good to go. So we just created a button and we also have a label on our screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here. We're going to create a private button, and we're not going to instantiate that. You can go ahead and auto import that using whatever auto import stuff you have. I have my key maps weird, so I was about to say that, but I forgot it was custom to me. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and have our button there. We're going to have our text view as well. And we're good to go now. So we need to go ahead and set these equal to something. So how do we access them if they're all the way in our XML file? Well, there's a neat little trick we can do called button equals, and we need to cast this to button. Find view by ID, and then we just say r.id and then button, because that's where our button is, or that's the ID of our button. So if we actually go look at this really quick, you can see our ID is ID button. Our text view actually doesn't have an ID, so let's assign it one real quick called text view. Okay, so whenever we set an ID to something, we can go ahead and access it using r.id.button. We can actually access a lot of things in R, like for instance our color. We can get our color primary and all these other values in here. We can actually access our string as well, so we can have all of our strings. Maybe, I don't know, get string. Yeah, so we can just say get string r.string.app name, and that'll get our app name there. And that'll just, access things through different files in here. Of course, we don't actually need to do this right now, so we can go ahead and delete that line of code. We need to go ahead and also set our text view equal to something so we can edit the content of it. So we need to go ahead and again cast a text view. We need to say r.id.textView. So now this button and this text view are both equal to something. We need to go ahead and assert that these are not null. So we need to say if button does not equal null and our text view does not equal null. So we know that these exist on the screen, or on the screen we're working with for that matter. Otherwise we need to go ahead and say, we'll do error handling things like that later. So now that we have our button and we have our text view, we need to go ahead and create an action for when this button is clicked. So we just say button.setOnClickListener, and we create a new instance of onClickListener. So for now, I'm not going to do anything special. I'm just going to log this to the console. So you want to type in log, import that class, and then type in anything you really want. I'm just going to say D because that's the default. And we're going to say get string r.string.app_name, because that's our app name. And we need to go ahead and have a log message. We're just going to say button clicked, exclamation point. We're going to copy that log code and go ahead and just add it in here and say something went wrong. Button or text view is null. So we're just going to log to the console whenever there's an error and say the button or text view is null. Of course, this won't happen since we know they're set right here. But it's better safe than sorry. Another thing that Android Studio will also actually have you do, sometimes if you don't add this null check, is it'll have you auto import an assert line, and it'll just say assert button does not equal null. Of course, this doesn't seem I don't know. Doesn't seem to do anything. I'm not 100% sure if that's really the case. But anyway, we can delete that because we know that it won't be null if we're down in here. So let's go ahead and rerun our app by pressing this run button. And if you already have your emulator open, this will be a lot quicker than, normal. So we'll go ahead and build and install the APK, which is the application binary, essentially. And now we have our button on the screen. Let's go ahead and open up the Android monitor to see that log. Boom. So you can see it now says button clicked a ton because we're spamming that button. So we want to now change the value of this text label based upon how many times we've clicked it. So let's go ahead and go into strings and add a new string called string name button clicks. Button clicked, and we'll go ahead and say %clicked times. We can exit out of this file now. And let's go ahead and go down here. We're going to say text view dot set text, and then our get string r dot string dot button clicks. So now it's just going to go ahead and set that, but we're not actually getting the amount of times we click this button. So we need to go ahead and add an integer to keep track of all this. So we're just going to say private int clicks. Every time it's clicked, we're going to go ahead and say clicks plus equals 1. And right here, when we set the text, we want to say replace all clicks with string dot value of clicks. So let's just confirm that's actually what I have it. It should be clicks in here. So button clicked and then %clicks %times. And then when we go through and replace it, it'll go ahead and function the way it should. So we can go ahead and hit this run button. And now you can see, oh, looks like I did something a little bit wrong here. I'm not 100% sure what just happened. Let's open up strings again. I don't think multiple, it's just non-positional format. Okay, so let's delete this final percentage. I'm not 100% sure why that's affecting it. But it is for some reason. Go ahead and try running this again. Hopefully it works this time around. It's a really odd issue. Okay, looks like it worked. I think it just doesn't like 2 percentages for whatever reason. So now that we're waiting for our app to go ahead and run again. Oh, looks like it ran. Let's click it. Button clicked 1 times, and you can see it just increments from there. So we've made our basic Android app here. Pretty cool. I like it. It's, doing quite a bit. We can actually go ahead and check on some interesting stats like the Android monitor. Let's go ahead and go over here to monitors instead of logcat. And you can see all this useful information like memory, so the amount of RAM we're using. This is pretty important on Android, or really any operating system for that matter. The amount of CPU we're using, which we can actually go ahead and increase by spamming this button. You can see we have those, not really spikes, but, CPU. Yeah, nothing happening on the network, and the GPU monitor is disabled. So that's really all there is to see right here. Let's switch back to logcat and see all the logs here. Okay, pretty cool. So let's just go ahead and close out of that. Okay, so we went ahead and learned. We can convert that to a logo, but whatever, that's okay. So what have we learned from this? We've learned how to access different resources from our code using the R class, which is auto-generated. You don't need to do anything special to get it to work. It's just automatically there if you use Android Studio. I'm not sure about other IDEs. That's why I recommend Android Studio. We learned how to log to the console, and we learned how to access different elements from within our files. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, if you did enjoy this episode, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and click that alert icon to see whenever I upload next. Of course, make sure to leave your video suggestions down below for what I should do next. Other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.